Melters, I need to know, is this too difficult for you? This is for couples, massage practitioners. I know you've already got something like this down pat. It's a new sequence showcasing a push-pull concept. So it's a deep tissue release on the shoulders, and we're pushing first on the back of the golf balls, pushing forward, and then we switch and start pulling back towards us. Now, Melt is predominantly a follow-along series, but every now and then I come up with a concept where I'm like, I think I can teach this in a way that couples can understand. And if you can get to understand the concept of pushing and pulling in a sequence, you can then use that in multiple places of the body, not just on the shoulders. So my question is, does the push-pull concept make sense to you? Does this little sequence feel like it's something that you can nail and achieve without too much effort? Because I like it, and I want to see if I can expand on this, maybe include it inside Melt. Melters, I'm really sorry. My set is a mess, but I'm actually set up to start recording the voiceover for Melt version 1.2. So hence the setup and the really, I usually do put on a better show for you. But anyways, if you could only see the studio right now, because it's not set up to be filmed in. But anyways, I decided to make this push-pull concept into a Friday night tutorial. It is really good. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Let's break down quickly this push-pull concept on the golf balls, and I'll show you the techniques that I'm working on, and then we'll look at some other aspects of push-pull, like can it work in other areas of the body. This could be a good one for us, actually. Before we get in too far into these techniques, it's important to note that these are all deep tissue techniques, which means that the golf balls, they need to have been released a little bit. They need to have been worked through, warmed up, and have your partner trusting your hands before we go in this deep, because the stuff that we're doing now is deep tissue work, and it is at the end of the masterclass in the advanced section. I'm actually calling this like the advanced section. I haven't worked out the proper name for it yet. We're in development stage right now, which is kind of awesome that you get to see this so raw. Okay, this thumb technique. Here's what I'm doing. So both my hands are on my partner's shoulders at the back. You can see they're spread wide. Yeah. So my right hand is sitting way over my partner's right hand side, like over her neck, and my left hand is covering basically the entire shoulder. I like this because it broadens out the pressure and confuses our partner's body a little bit, her brain, into thinking that the technique is not as deep as what it actually is, right? Because if it's just thumbs on its own, it's quite pokey. My thumbs are flared back. I like this because it exposes my knuckles, and all the work is just repetitive motions working on the back of the golf ball. I am, if you actually have a look, collecting some of the ski jump too. It's up to you what you want to do, whether you want to hit both, but that's what we're doing right now. And it is slow, like I am doing this slow, and it is quite repetitive. And then we move into fingertips, and this is even deeper and it's even slower. Nature of the fingertips is that I need to bring all 4 fingers in together at the same time, which means that I cannot spread my hands out as large as they were before. So they all come in. You can notice first up, palms down, fingertips down. Even though I'm leading in very deep with my fingertips, I like my palms down. It still lets me broaden out that pressure and confuses our partner's brain into thinking that it's not as deep as what it actually is. So if you can, practice that. Palms down, all 4 fingers are leading into the back of the golf ball. And you can see how deep that is because her skin is folding up, yeah? And it's slow. All 4 fingers as well means that I can broaden out and spread out that pressure. It's not isolated over one finger or one thumb. Wow, how is this? Again, this is raw because I am setting up for Melt version 1.2, and everything's been set up for audio, and hence why I'm keeping my headphones on. I'm trying to get rid of all the mouth noises and the clicks. I'm sorry that it's here. I'm going to be readjusting as we go to try and minimize this as much as possible. And I'm already adjusting the way I'm sitting. Yeah, and the distance that I'm at with the microphone. I've got my own little drink of like goodies in here, trying to figure out how do I keep the mouth from doing the pops. And I know it's gross, but these are the things that I think about for Melt's masterclass. I want it to be as perfect as what I can get before. I mean, eventually I can see, once I've got this down pat, that we go into a studio and I have a proper sound mixing team that will help me produce the sound. Like, that will happen. That'll probably happen in Melt version 2 though. Right now, I'm happy to make mistakes with you. Like, let's just do this together. And I'm also really focusing on my vocal delivery too. Is fascinating what goes through your head. It's like, okay, let's think about how I'm projecting my voice. I really liked like the current version of Melt and the persona that came through over the microphone. Like, it's very subdued, it's very practitioner, and this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to have you meet practitioner Denis, and then YouTube was like, let's hang out as friends, and talk ideas and concepts and yada yada yada. Now I'm trying to work out, it's like, what is the next stage? Like, I want to have a deeper, relaxing voice for you, but I also want it to be assertive and affirmative. You know, I want to make sure that the points are given across with confidence. So you're like, all right, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm going to listen up. I don't know. Melt version 1, I'm really proud of it. It's very, very, very good. I'm very happy with it. I don't want to make it worse. All right, back to this technique. This is what we're doing with pulling back. So we've done 2 pushes forward. Now we're pulling back on the front of the golf balls. I really, really like this technique. It is slow and there's a lot happening. It seems like it's simple, and on the surface, it is a very simple technique. But when we get into the nitty-gritty, there is a lot happening. The complexity of what we're doing makes this feel so special and so good. So let me take you through this. So the pads of my fingers, all 4 fingers, are hooking the front of the golf ball, right? But the stroke is actually being produced, or the power is coming from my wrist and my elbow pulling down. So what we're doing is actually we are dragging the fingertips or the pads of the fingers over the golf ball, and we're kind of rotating our wrist to the left. So we're going towards the top of our partner's arm, right at the end of the shoulder, working our way to the top of the arm to circle back to the beginning, but we're still dragging back and pulling back on that golf ball. And it just feels fantastic. Like, the 4 fingers is a really broad pressure. The fingers are not doing any work other than staying consistent with the pressure. The work is coming from the heel of the palm and the hand pulling down. And the idea is that the entire hand is covering the surface area of our partner's shoulder. We're using the massage oil and the drag of the massage oil to help produce this. How do I explain this? It's really tough to kind of like, just give me a second to figure this out, right? There's something about getting your oil consistency and your oil drag right. And there's something that the oil does. We'll do this in, like, I've got a video scheduled on this. I just haven't figured out how to teach it just yet, but there's something about having the right oil consistency and how you move your hand in relation to that oil consistency. Like, the more surface area that we use during a massage, the slower that massage becomes because of the oil drag. And if your oil consistency is like bang on, like if it's not too wet and not too dry, we can use the oil consistency to help amplify the drag of the massage. Does that make sense? So it's not just this pokey, like, what I like about this technique is the tips or the pads of our fingers are really hooking into the front of the golf ball, but the entire hand has got this movement that's using oil drag that just, it feels like there's this massive like pulling back over the golf balls, but it's not just one little contact point. There's so much sensation and feeling happening because we are contouring our hands down. The power is coming from our wrist and we are just dragging all that over the front of the golf balls. Our partner feels all of it. Wow, I'm getting way too emotional over describing this, but this is what I live for, right? This feeling of being able to make this happen in our partner's body. It's not just a massage. There is so much going on here, and it honestly is emotional when you can get it right. Wow, that got really in-depth and technical, didn't it? Yeah. Wow, good luck. That is intense. I will clean this up inside Melt and explain that a lot better and shorten that explanation better as well. But I don't know. This is it. This is raw. This is just ad lib, throwing it out there for you to show you what this little sequence is. Okay, now I feel like I've overly complicated that and I'm all hot and bothered. Whew.